You know, Gnomie, as I sit around here at the bonfire, sometimes I can't help but think of my little pagan princess that I met at the Ren Fair last year. You know, we started talking about weird sayings and like why they're a thing. And the one that I really remember the most from that conversation was the phrase, I love them to death. And it's just kind of a weird one, like, are you killing them like with your love? Or do you love them until they're dead? Like, yeah, I love them, but now that they're dead, I can't help but remember how much I actually kind of hated them. You know? Or like whenever they're at your funeral, somebody's giving the eulogy, instead of like saying nice things about you and stuff, they just rag on you like the whole time. Like, man, that a-hole owed me $60 from like 6 months ago and never once offered to pay it back. Honestly, I'm glad he's in the little box. I'm glad he's gone. I just hope that he left some money in the will. And honestly, I kind of hope that there's a little bit extra, you know, for interest, because this is bullshit. Right? Can't pay me freaking $60, just goes to the dang bar every weekend, supposed to be best friend. Either way, rest in peace.
It is rather sad to see how petty people can get when it comes to getting money or property from a dead man. The government even makes sure to take their cut when you croak with the death tax.
You know, the government has just so many taxes nowadays. I swear to God that the founding fathers are just constant spin, rolling in their graves all the time. You know, speaking of rolling in your graves, there's like a lot of oddly morbid sayings out there. Like, one thing that I find really interesting is the concept of hitting on things, but in a positive. Like, you usually only hit on things when you don't like them, right? Like, you know, some dude pisses you off or whatever, you just pop him in the face. Yeah, I hit him real hard. But no, like, hitting the books means that you're studying. Whenever it really sounds like you're upset with them, like, dude, I'm so tired of studying, I don't even want to I don't even want to look at you anymore. And you just start beating on the books, right? But the really on the nose one, and I'm really surprised that we still use this term anymore, especially with all how progressive everything has gotten nowadays. But hitting on women, or like hitting on someone, right? Like, in general, you know, it's more sounds like domestic violence rather than a mating ritual, but hey, that's the phrase, right? And I always thought, you know, it's kind of weird, like, hey bro, what are you doing tonight? Oh yeah, dude, I'm gonna go hit on some women and see if I get lucky. Bro, I feel like that's not gonna work out, man. Like, why do you think hitting on them will get them to sleep with you? Psh, girls are always talking about how they like getting pounded hard, so that's what I'm gonna go do, bro. You gotta hit on them first for a little bit, then you can take them home and then give them a real good pounding. You know, it just sounds so bad sometimes, like, you know, it hitting and pounding. And now I kind of understand the pounding, because, you know, that's slightly in that context, I get it, right? But I sometimes wonder, with somebody like new to the English language, kind of doesn't understand the lingo and phrase and stuff like that. It's just like on the bus, listen to a couple bros talk like that, and I feel like they would be concerned.
It is rather fascinating how language can be so ambiguous. Hitting on someone does sound quite aggressive when you think about it. It makes you wonder how these phrases came to be accepted in everyday conversation.
It is pretty weird how these honestly violent phrases get used without a second thought. Like, whenever I hear people say to beat a dead horse, I really wonder where in the world that even started. I assume somewhere here in the South or something like that, but I don't know. Maybe it's a European thing, because they didn't have horses, you know, before the Europeans came over here to America. So, you know, it's not an Indian thing, right? Or at least I wouldn't assume so, right? I wonder, maybe there was just some crazy guy in like a small town that had a horse, and for some reason it died. And, you know, he would just go out and beat that horse's corpse every day. And, you know, maybe he thought it was sleeping, or he'd wake him up from his coma. And people just saw him beating that horse's corpse every day, and people would talk about it in town, and then it just started turning into phrase, I don't mean to beat a dead horse. And then like as it over time, it just kind of spread out, and I guess it's in the general South. I don't talk to many Yankees, so I don't know if they use that phrase or not. But I don't know. Was it just one guy and it spread out like that, or was that like a weird common thing in the past? Like people would go out and beat dead horses, for some weird reason that's lost to time. And then the other one is like, why always horses? Like, why isn't the animal being beaten? Like, why does it always have to be a horse? Maybe because saying beating a dead dog, or, I hate to beat a dead cat sounds objectively worse, but I'm just curious as to why I've never heard it once with like a little bit of a different flair to it. But I don't know, man. I don't mean to beat a dead pig about it, but I digress.
They say the evolution of language often mirrors the darker corners of human nature. In this case, beating a dead horse is a testament to our capacity for persistence, futility, and perhaps a touch of sadism. Knowing this, I'm quite surprised that you don't enjoy this phrase more. But then again, you are more sadomasochistic rather than sadistic, since you only enjoy making your own life harder.
Nah, Gnomie, it's not that I enjoy making my life harder. It's that I enjoy making everything easier for myself. Sometimes that's lowering my standards to be able to achieve success, right? You go out to the bar, you're trying to shoot for 6s and 7s, maybe even an 8 or a 9, if you're feeling real, cool about yourself. But sometimes after you go and get rejected a couple times, you gotta say what's up to the, maybe the 3s to 5s. And lowering those standards allows you to achieve the success that you need. Now, it's not something you can go brag about, but you still achieve it, right? And you're able to get a little bit, or maybe you can just be ambiguous with some of the details of it, but you could say, oh yeah, totally smashed last night, bruh. Just kind of get that nice high five, and you achieve success. I don't know. Sometimes I don't go out that way. I've been trying to be more of a hunter recently, but either way. And then sometimes it's about avoiding BS tasks that, honestly, in my mind, are way more effort than they are worth to do. And when it's worth doing, I'm on the ball, right? Which, speaking of like weird phrases, that's kind of a weird phrase in itself. Like, where did like on the ball come from? Like, I assume it's like a sports phrase, since like anyone who's like on the ball, like, isn't very productive. Like, people, okay, like in sports, yeah, they've got the ball. These are the people that are going to be doing stuff, scoring points. But in all other contexts, somebody on a ball is not very productive. Okay, I guess the clowns that can stand on the ball and juggle stuff, okay, kind of productive. But everybody else is not, because it's a really unstable surface, and you need to like focus on staying on the ball itself, and you can't do much else. Like, that's the whole point of the juggler being on the ball juggling, because oh my gosh, he's on a ball and juggling. That's wild stuff. But I don't know. And maybe it's like those desk balls, for that people in the offices use and stuff, because I guess you could be on that ball and be productive. But, or at least I know that used to be the thing, like the little desk balls and stuff, but I wonder if anybody's still rocking that in 2024.
Joe, it appears your life philosophy is to tread the path of least resistance, even if it leads straight into a pit of mediocrity. They say that consistency is key, so maybe you're on the right track since you plan to see how low the bar can go.
Dude, heck yeah, take the path of least resistance. I mean, it works for electricity, and we all know how awesome that stuff is, right? And then water does the same thing. And so, like, honestly, I think about it as like, why would I go against nature? Think about these things, right? We need water to survive. We need electricity to, survive and live in like a modern society. So these are like two like super successful things, like the bedrock of like civilization, or at least like modern civilization whenever you count electricity. So like, why wouldn't I follow their example so that I can be successful? Gotta think about these things, Gnomie.
Your dedication to taking the easy road is truly inspiring. It's like watching a sloth navigate through molasses, slow and steady, making a mess of things and ultimately going nowhere fast. Just remember, paths of least resistance often lead to unexpected consequences.
Bow, 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 bow.